I'm Jano Lieber. I'm the president of MTA Construction and Development, and I'm really thrilled to be here because this is a project that, number one, we're celebrating the opening of yet another elevator, which is a huge priority for the MTA, and it's a priority that people here have helped to emphasize for the city, for the state, and especially for the MTA. I also want to acknowledge, first of all, Commissioner Victor Calisi of our MTA board member and city commissioner as well, who's taking a dramatic leadership role since he joined the MTA board really just a few short weeks ago. And Alex Elagudin, who is the MTA's system-wide accessibility guru and known to everybody here, somebody we've all come to admire and rely on for his passion and his knowledge in this area. We are opening, this is the fourth station in a week where we're opening elevators. There is nothing I would rather be doing than doing 4 stations a week. And that's why we're here, because what is going on in Washington right now is going to determine whether we can keep up a pace of that kind. And everybody here, we've been sometimes at loggerheads, a lot of times working together about the issue of system-wide accessibility for the disabled community, but we all are together in the sense that we know that this issue is going to become much more challenging if we don't get the kind of money out of Washington that everybody is expecting and fighting for. Yesterday, Senator Schumer said in a widely covered online rally run by the transit advocacy community, included some folks from the disability community as well, that he was fighting for a $32 billion transit emergency aid bill, and that's what we need. And we're here supported by our friends and our partners in the fight for accessibility to make sure we say that. So as I said, this is the fourth here at First Avenue on the L train. This is the fourth station where we're opening accessible elevators in a week. There are also 3 elevators opening at the Floral Park station at the Long Island Railroad, and there are 5 more on the 3rd track mainline Long Island Railroad that are in progress. We are really kicking it into gear on this issue. And as everybody knows, being at the MTA in my job, I get a lot of complaints, but the best complaint I ever got was this week. The guy who does the accessibility maps at the MTA said, "You're killing me, you're changing the map, you're adding a new station every couple of days. This is a lot of work." That's the kind of thing you want to hear. But what we really want is one map. We want one map that shows that the same map for people, for the disabled community, for disabled riders, as for the ridership at large. We want a fully accessible MTA system, and it's overdue. I just want to say this community has made it a priority. It should be a priority. It will be a priority. And together we will see it through to very much to the end. I cannot stand here at the L train project without acknowledging the folks who made this a model project. And behind me are representatives of the MTA team and the construction management team from Jacobs and the contractor from Judlow, who built this project, got it done 6 to 9 months early with all of the elevators, both here and at Bedford Avenue, and saved the MTA $100 million. That $100 million means that we are going to be able to build more accessible facilities, and it's dramatic. We want it to happen. So let me just underscore again, we are here today both to celebrate the opening of a new elevator, but also to celebrate what we need from Washington, which is a heck of a lot of money. The MTA's financial situation, which is seriously dire, is directly related to the national pandemic, the COVID impact. The MTA is losing $800 million a week because we have, for the right medical reasons, asked people to stay home. And it's the federal government's responsibility to help us get the MTA back on its feet so we don't have to face cuts to layoffs, to personnel or service, or God forbid, capital projects that include ones like the ones we're celebrating today. So that's why we're here. It's about Washington and making sure we protect this 70 ADA station capital program that we are all in this community devoted to. So with that, I just want to say thank you again to the men and women who built this project, and to introduce our partner and our board member, Victor Calise. Commissioner.
Thank you, Jano. Thank you, everyone. Anytime that we're talking about accessibility, it's a good day. We know that the MTA historically has had challenges implementing the accessibility throughout its system. But in order to ensure that we have a system-wide accessibility, we need a capital plan that reflects that. Jano just talked about the 70 stations, and we're in support of those 70 stations because they are key. Advocates here today and the advisory committee for the MTA supports this, and that's how come they're here today. So it's really important that we get behind this capital plan. But in order to do that, we all need to be united in our message, and I think we are. Advocates, the MTA, and the board, right? And our message to the White House and our message to Congress is simple. Support transit and support it now. Thank you.
Alex L. Gooden.
I just want to give a shout out to all the advocates here today. It's really just encouraging to be working here together on these issues. I mean, we're on the heels of the 30th anniversary of the ADA, and we're celebrating a lot of station openings. And, you know, we've made progress in 30 years, but since I've been here 2 years ago, we've really accelerated. And that's what makes this COVID and fiscal crisis really gut-wrenching, is that just as we hit our stride on accessibility, just as we're building momentum, this happened. That's why we really need, you know, the federal government to step up and help us. We are ready to do the work. We just need the help to get it done. It's the amount of work that's gone into where we're at here today and where we're going in the next coming years has been incredible, in working together with the disability community. And we need to continue that. As Jano said, we want to fill in the map. We want to make sure every neighborhood gets to experience, every neighborhood in New York gets to experience an opening like this and have an elevator. We want every rider, every passenger to be able to have an elevator in their district. We cannot stress enough that the challenges we face right now with COVID and the fiscal crisis not only challenge our ability to make progress in the future, and will stymie that, but create a real risk for backsliding on the accessibility progress that we've made. And we can't have that. We won't stand for that. We as an agency are doing everything as we can. We're here with advocates together. And I just want to explain to anyone watching and listening how important that is. To see us standing here shoulder to shoulder, this is really, no matter which side you're on, having accessibility for New Yorkers, having the funding to achieve that is universally important. We all know that this has been a very challenging crisis. But what this stands for in terms of the progress that we've made for people with disabilities to be able to go to work, to be able to go to school, to be able to go home, to travel, and all the other things, the impact of these dollars and the work that we do is immeasurable. And as I pass it off to the advocates and the disability community to share their piece, I cannot stress that to you enough. They will tell you firsthand what this means to them. And we as an agency, again, are committed. We have the right plan. We have the right team. We have the right work structure. And we're making elevators more efficient. We're working faster than we ever have. We just need the assistance with the funding to get there. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Jessica De La Rosa from BCID, from the community, and she'll introduce herself.
You want to? Hey, Amanda, do you have an extra mic? I don't want to pass the mic around. Please.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Jessica De La Rosa, and I'm the systems advocate at BCID. I'm here today because our community knows that this pandemic has been devastating to the MTA. It is suffering greatly, and if it does not have the funds to operate, all of us will suffer too. We stand, or sit, with the MTA in asking for federal government to provide $14 billion in funding relief to get them through these awful financial times. We know that the services that people with disability rely on are the first on the chopping block when it comes to saving dollars, and we can't let that happen. There's a long way to go for the MTA. I have lived in this neighborhood for 36 years, and this is the first elevator that is 15 blocks away from me, and that's the closest. We need more progress to make all transit accessible. The transit system, including elevators like these, is a gateway to independence and a door to employment for people with disabilities, including me. Federal funding is essential in bridging the gap so that we can get where we need to go, just like all New Yorkers. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Hernandez. I am the NYC, New York City Advocacy Coordinator for United Spinal Association. The MTA and advocates haven't seen eye to eye for many years, but there has been a real shift in that thinking over the last few years. With the hiring of Alex and now with the appointment of Victor Calisi, real change is in the top has come. And we have, as advocates, want accessibility to be at the forefront. And we need the federal government to step up. 70 stations need to get built over the next, capital plan. And we need Democrats, Republicans, everyone to come together as we came together with the MTA to ask for these changes. Please fund the MTA, get this bill out, get them the support they need, get us our accessible stations.
No, 1 second. I just want him to handle the mic before we pass it around further because of safety issues.
No, I get it completely.
Yeah, no, wait, don't touch that. Who's speaking next?
I am.
Go ahead, step up right there. Just keep your distance from the mic. I'm not trying to be a little bit.
I'll do my best. Good afternoon. I'm Joe Rappaport. I'm the Executive Director of the Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled. Usually we're in front of a lectern calling on board members and MTA executives, who, like the people here today, to do the right thing by our community, to make the system accessible, and get going on projects like the one behind me. But today we're here with the MTA, standing and sitting with the MTA, calling on our representatives in Washington to do the right thing for riders and for our community. My friend and colleague Gene Rushinoff, who recently retired from the Strap Hangers campaign, used to have a line: "You can be Moses, either the biblical Moses or Robert Moses, but without money." I'll start again with that anecdote. Gene used to say this line: "You can be Moses, either the biblical Moses or Robert Moses, but without money, you can't do anything." And without bus service, without adequate subway service and railroad service, without reformed Access-a-Ride, we can't do anything. Our community can't get to jobs, can't get to school. And before the pandemic, there was a almost 70% unemployment rate among people with disabilities in this region. It's got to be more now. So service cuts would hurt us very dramatically. We also know what it's like when vital bus routes and subway routes are cut. That happened a decade ago on the B39 and the B51 lines, never restored the same way they should have been, and there's no service between Brooklyn and Manhattan now by bus, and there's no matching service by subway. So we need money from Washington. Our community has lost so much, and so many people have died in this pandemic. But we're still here. And today we're sending a sign-on letter right here from 15 regional disability groups from Long Island, the city, all the way up to Poughkeepsie, calling on our Washington representatives to fund transit, to make sure that the MTA gets $12 billion, and across the nation, transit systems get a total of $32 billion, because there are people across the country who depend on transit just like us. The time is now for them to act so that our transit system survives and our community and New York can recover from this disaster. Thank you.
Okay, we're at this stage when we would normally take questions from the press, but they're actually watching this on live stream, so at this point we get to wrap up. I just want to say again a huge thank you to the disability community. You know, it's not a secret. Getting around New York is difficult. That's why we're here. We're trying to make it easier. But they show up at our board meetings, they show up for this cause, and they showed up today because they know how important this issue is. Thank you to the advocates for being here. Thank you to the construction workers and construction managers who made this project happen. Let's build a bunch together. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.